People think that anxiety is a personal failure and that this comes from weakness, trauma, or lack of discipline. The problem of modern anxiety isn't something psychological, it is existential. We spend so much time thinking about what will happen in the future or how our lives will turn out that we don't see enough to reach our goals until we realize that many of these fears are only mental, catastrophical projections. This anxiety comes from a deep contradiction between how the human mind seeks certainty, permanence, and meaning, and the fact that reality itself is in constant change. We are taught to build our lives as if certainty were possible. Since we were kids, we are asked, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" When there is no way we can have a concrete answer for this. We live in a world where people and things around us come and go, and yet we are taught to build our lives as if certainty were possible, as if we were already born knowing what we are going to do with our lives, as if its stability could be permanent. What we do not understand is that not accepting the idea of the world being in constant change will give us more anxiety. The more that we worry about, not because we care too much, but because we try to hold on to what cannot remain changed. And this tension is at the root of modern anxiety. Stay with me and you will understand why modern anxiety feels overwhelming and why it's not a personal failure. We can feel like we want answers instantly that won't change. We want identities that don't dissolve. We want happiness that does not fade. And we want meaning that cannot collapse. But all those things do not cooperate with these demands. Anxiety comes when we try to force life to give us what we cannot be. We are constantly trying to control things that are out of our control. Society, instead of helping us to face this contradiction, often encourages us to escape from it, telling us what is good or bad, correct or incorrect. Authors like Martin Heidegger made an important contribution in his book Being on Time. He argued that anxiety does not come from specific fears. It comes from the realization that there is no fixed ground beneath us. He explains that anxiety reveals the groundlessness of existence, and there is no ultimate structure warranting meaning or stability. He exposes that everyday supports we rely on roles, routines, and beliefs that are temporary. We escape into belief systems, into identities, into constant simulation, the pursuit of pleasure, and into the perfect future. We cling to beliefs, roles, and goals, not because they are true, but because they make us feel safe for a moment, like a person with the fear of going out of his comfort zone. And when they fail, the anxiety returns. Let's go back to 1951, a moment when the foundations that once made feel life stable had collapsed all at once. The world entered in a period where certainty dissolved on every level. Nations were rebuilding from devastation. Millions of people were displaced, and all social, religious, and political structures no longer felt reliable. It was in this context that Alan Watts, in his 1951 book, The Wisdom of Insecurity, described a modern mind forced to live in the future in order to feel safe. Alan Watts said, "There seem to be fewer and fewer rocks to which we can hold, fewer things which we can regard as absolutely right and true and fixed for all time," describing the loss of certainty and stability. And he didn't treat anxiety as something abnormal. He considered it as a natural response to resisting reality. There is no single human in the world that can escape from this, because it is part of us. He said, "By all outward appearances, our life is a spark of light between one eternal darkness and another. And this is the awareness of death and impermanence." He points out that one of the deepest sources of anxiety is our awareness of impermanence. And this is an observation because just think about it. Before we were born, we don't remember anything, and after we die, we don't know what happens. In between both of those concepts, there is a short period of conscious experience. This awareness never fully leaves us, because we don't consciously think about death all the time. Our nervous system does, with a constant need for meaning. Sometimes it's quiet. When this awareness comes into the background, we lose ourselves in creativity. We are present with someone we love, or we are deeply focused. Sometimes it becomes overwhelming. When this awareness breaks through panic, anxiety, existential crisis, loss, or illness. Another source of anxiety is the collapse of absolute meaning. We, as human beings, are in constant chase for meaning. We always want our lives to make sense. It becomes difficult for us when we want more than what we see around us, when we feel like we must have something beyond it, unless there is an eternal order or an eternal life behind the experience of life and death. Man, as being of sense, wants his life to make sense, as he has found it hard to believe that it does so, unless there is more than what he sees, unless there is an eternal order and an eternal life behind the uncertain and momentary experience of life and death. And this is the difficulty of making sense of life without belief in something beyond it. For centuries, human beings have placed their beliefs and thoughts in divine entities through spirituality or religion, believing in eternal structures, in God, in immortal soul, in fixed moral orders, and in an ultimate purpose behind existence. He explains that believing something because it is useful does not make it true. We use God as a safety tool instead of facing our fears directly. We avoid confronting fear and anxiety because belief makes us feel protected. But being religious does not fix our problems, unless we face them honestly. In some cases, religious doctrines themselves become another way of escaping that confrontation. It has been possible for humans to make the insecurity of life bearable through belief in divine entities beyond what we can see and beyond our existence, such as God, the soul, human immortality, and the idea of the universe is governed by eternal laws and rights. Using belief as a tool to feel safe does not resolve anxiety, it only postpones it. The fear arises when we realize that nothing in life is permanent or absolute. If everything is constantly changing and there is no meaning, goal, or certainty to hold on to, our minds interpret this as chaos and hopelessness. Society has taught us to believe that hope depends on stability and guaranteed future. So, when those ideas collapse, it feels as if life has no future at all. Alan Watts said, "If happiness always depends on something expected in the future, we are chasing a will-o'-the-wisp that ever eludes our grasp until the future and ourselves vanish into the abyss of death." And this is the dependence on the future for happiness. As a result, we cling to the future. We tell ourselves that happiness will arrive later, when things improve, when we understand more, when we become someone else. But when happiness depends on the future, it never arrives. If joy always lives tomorrow, then today becomes a problem to endure. But the truth is that most of us spend years of our lives in boring jobs that we don't really like, following a system, or simply doing what we have been told is the right thing to do. We stay because it feels comfortable, because it doesn't create anxiety, because we are not worried about lack in the future, until we get sick of it. Then, we start falling into short-term pleasures to avoid the harsh reality of life. And instead of truly thinking about the future, we end up making our lives miserable, not because we are worried about money, but because we are avoiding facing what we are actually doing with our time. We trade vitality for security, and then we use pleasure to numb the costs of that trade. Alan Watts said, "To keep up this standard, most of us are willing to put up with lives that consist largely in doing jobs that are a bore, earning the means to seek relief from tedium by intervals of hectic and expensive. We sacrifice joy for survival and escapism. If we are always looking for a future that never arrives, it makes us feel hopelessness, and we spend our time in constant pursuit when this future never comes. It generates anxiety. This fear is pushing us to constantly avoid reality, and that same pursuit of meaning leads us into the endlessness chasing of short-term pleasures. This creates a constant background anxiety, a sense that something is missing, that we are late, that we are not ready. We chase the pleasure to avoid existential truth when belief in eternal becomes impossible. We are always seeking happiness in the joys of time, but we know that these joys are uncertain and brief. We keep chasing pleasure to avoid facing existential truth directly, when the real issue is our refusal to confront these realities. There is also the anxiety of missing out, the sense that something is always happening elsewhere. This makes us go from one pleasure to another, like always wanting to be at big parties, having casual sex, moving from one relationship to another out of the fear of being alone, or abusing substances to avoid confronting the absurd nature of reality. Watts points out, the more we are able to feel pleasure, the more we are vulnerable to pain. And, whether in background or foreground, the pain is always with us. And this explores the inescapability of pain. Pain is inseparable from pleasure, and the more we deeply feel joy, the more vulnerable we are to become lost. This is not a flaw in life. This is how life works. We often think this is vulnerability, and we are desperate to get rid of it. We want pleasure without pain, meaning without uncertainty, and life without death. Then, when reality refuses these terms, anxiety comes to remind us reality. Watts describes this as drowning out the realization that life feels meaningless when we refuse to face it directly. Alan Watts points out here, somehow we must grab what we can while we can, and drown out the realization that the whole thing is futile and meaningless. This dope we call our elevated standard of living, a violent and complex stimulation of the senses which makes them progressively less sensitive, and thus in need of yet more violent stimulation. We fell in addiction to sensory stimulation to avoid facing reality, to avoid discomfort. We are seeking stimulation. We distract ourselves in constant input, screens, entertainment, pleasure, consumption. But overstimulation dulls the senses, and those senses demand stronger stimulation. This creates a cycle where anxiety feeds addiction and addiction feeds anxiety. Alan Watts said, "It is a misapplication of psychology to make the presence or absence of neurosis a touchstone of truth. The agnostic, the skeptic, is neurotic." But this does not imply a false philosophy. It implies the discovery of facts to which he does know how to adapt himself. And here we expose a false kind of reasoning, that the idea that peace of mind equals truth. Watts describes this as drowning out the realization that life feels meaningless when we refuse to face it directly. This resistance does not keep abstract. It enters the body, and a chronic anxiety appears physically. The breath becomes shallow, insomnia appears, and digestion is disrupted. The nervous system remains on alert, and experiencing panic attacks is not random. They are moments when the pressure of holding everything together becomes unbearable. The body responds as if we were in danger because psychologically it is. The danger is not external. It is the demand to make life sense at all costs. He suggests that anxiety does not come from uncertainty itself. It comes from resisting uncertainty because it is part of life. And trying to eliminate uncertainty is like trying to remove waves from the ocean. The mistake is not feeling fear. The mistake is demanding that fear disappear before we allow ourselves to live. Letting go in this sense doesn't mean giving up. It means stopping the struggle against impermanence. It means accepting that life does not owe us guarantees. This is difficult because the ego depends on control. The ego is not evil. It is part of us that works as a survival mechanism. From childhood, we develop the sense of I, me, and mine. We learn to protect ourselves, how to plan, and how to anticipate. But when this mechanism becomes our entire identity, fear becomes constant. Fear is not an accident. It comes from limitation. We are not infinite. We can lose, we can suffer, we can die. Trying to escape this anxiety presence, on the other hand, weakens it. Presence does not remove fear. It removes the story that fear must be eliminated. Alan Watts makes emphasis that pace does not come from securing the future. It comes from fully inhabiting the present. When our attention is here, the nervous system relaxes, the breath deepens, the body no longer prepares for imaginary threats. And this is why spiritual practices like meditation works. And when it works, we can be diving the present, feel like we are completely alive, and feel the present how it is. Because we cannot control what is going to happen in the future, or when we are struggling in a difficult situation, in the worst case a disease, we can take control over our emotions and change our reactions to different circumstances. Meditation isn't going to fix the anxiety, but it can reveal something essential without resistance. Meditation is not a way to escape from reality. It is a way to come into direct contact with it. It allows us to observe the ego instead of obeying it, to feel fear without identifying with it, and to experience uncertainty without collapsing. Therapy also plays an important role here. It helps us to understand ourselves more deeply by allowing us to explore the roots of our anxiety with someone else. On our own, we often see only the version of ourselves. A trained professional can reflect the patterns that we cannot see, help us name what is happening beneath the surface, and guide us towards concrete actions that create a change. Therapy also doesn't remove anxiety, but it gives us a perspective, clarity, and responsibility over how we respond to it. And over time, this changes the relationship to anxiety itself. And finally, anxiety stops being an enemy, and it becomes information. Albert Camus makes this argument most clearly in the myth of Sisyphus. He explained that the world does not offer permanent meaning, order, or moral guarantees. There is no final explanation that makes suffering, death, or uncertainty worth it. It creates a confrontation between our need for meaning and silence in different universes. Camus points out that there are only three possible responses: physical escape, suicide; philosophical escape, religion; or revolt. But the problem is not that life has no meaning. The problem is demanding meaning before we allow ourselves to live. It shows where we are clinging, we are demanding permanence, where we are refusing life as it is. You will completely change the way you see anxiety. You will stop asking how to get rid of it and start asking what is asking of you. Don't spend your valuable time believing and not trying to find a space code, just confront it. You will start living with more honesty and stop postponing life while waiting for certainty to arrive, realizing that it never does. Life is not a problem to solve, it is a process to participate in. Because when we stop demanding meaning from the future, the real meaning comes from naturally living the present to build the future. This isn't about being optimistic. This is the real world. Observe the present. Observe what is useful for you, instead of failing into a process of judging yourself. And this is the way to become free, joyful, and happy. I am not offering answers to replace one belief with another. I'm just invitating you to reflect and observe yourself from love and clarity. The real work happens in awareness, and anxiety is rooted in resisting change. Being present is not a technique, it is an attitude without escape. Not denial, but open to listen that there is nothing to fix. Just notice what is happening when you stop demanding and forcing certainty from life. Anxiety isn't telling you that something is wrong, it is pointing to the moment where we stop controlling and real life begins.